Hello. I was going to see how long it took you to react. My name's Alec from Whitewell Comics. Let's see if I can do this right. Nope. That's John over there. Yeah, you got it. You're becoming much better at this than me. You were on the channel called John's Comics with Kids, and this is New Comic Book Day Book Club, episode 39.
Really? 39?
Yeah. But we've actually done more shows than that because we did like 3 old Comic Book Day book clubs. I actually just checked. Our first episode was October 24th of last year.
Yeah.
Good old Ghost Spider.
I wonder if I was gonna say, I wonder if anybody in the chat remembers what book it was.
Yeah, sorry, I ruined that one. Whoops. Thanks for stopping in, guys. In the chat, who do we have so far? We had Comics with Bueller off the gate, tailgating, as John says, saying that he had some thoughts about this book. I wonder if they are the same as mine. Old Wolf, what's up, brother? And Downright Nerdy Podcast, Hack79, thanks for stopping by. We read this new G.I. Joe relaunch today.
Well, I got the other cover. Look at that.
Oh, look at you. That was marked as an incentive variant in my store.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, more big check.
John and Alec has some thoughts. Try to retain the thoughts.
Wow.
Hey, come on. I was taking Blue Manchu to task on the Comic Core Unlimited tonight. If you hadn't watched that show, later on you should check it out.
Downright Nerdy Podcast says, "How was it?" Well, let's jump right in, shall we?
I would like to say a little bit.
I think you should go first.
I am a G.I. Joe fan from as a kid. Like, I loved the cartoon show.
Same.
Collected the comics and the toys, action figures, the whole thing. My brothers and I. Obviously, I have a few of the comics still floating around here. I did really enjoy the old comic. I'd say up to the early 100s somewhere. I did not read much beyond that because I really got frustrated with it, especially after they killed like a huge crew of Joes in like one issue. They like mowed them all down. I don't know if you remember that issue.
I don't think I was reading that far into it.
It was somewhere in the like 130, 100 range, something like that. So I really, really loved it. I will say I've tried to go back. Here's one. Here's an issue number 1 with that J. Scott Campbell cover.
Yeah, it sure is. I got that book.
I've tried to go back, and I feel like, that saying, you can never go home again. Like, I will say, like, I've had that problem with G.I. Joe runs up to now. Like, I've really felt like none of them were ever anywhere close to what I loved from the originals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, have you gone back and read the originals?
Yes.
They're very dated.
They're very choppy, yeah.
So
but there are some powerful ideas and some cool sequences. And for me as a kid, it was like ultra violent, and that there were always people getting shot and messed up, and Snake Eyes cutting people and Storm Shadow.
I certainly loved it as a kid and enjoy it as an adult, but I don't know if I would enjoy it as an adult as much as if I didn't know it as a kid.
That's a good point. It's like Burke Nasty and the Power Rangers.
Exactly. I want to give a quick shout out to Jay Hood Creative, who dropped his first video this week, and he did this like amalgam of like all the powers of different YouTubers that he has, and he said that he has the emotional range of Whitewell Comics. So, and I'm just noticing as I'm talking. That's not a compliment to you, buddy.
But that's
but a good video. Welcome to the YouTube Creators Club.
I'll have to check that
out. That's not a thing. What's going on with your hair?
I don't know. It's a little. I had a hat on earlier today. I don't think it's ever recovered. Hello, Old Wolf in the chat. Thank you for coming by. He said he's not going to watch. He was going to watch the Golden Guys replay and then catch our show on a replay later because he's not a huge G.I. Joe fan.
That's fair. I think, however, one of the great advantages of our show is that you don't have to be a fan of the book because we're the real entertainment.
Star power.
At least you are.
Listen, my stars are watching a movie in the other room.
To me, going back to the 80s line, to me, the biggest draw of that for me was the character designs, and the character imagination involved with them. They captured you, for me at least. Like, and that's my first criticism of this book. They just made them all bland. Like, they just all look. I understand they're trying to make it like gritty and real world, and ooh, this is like what really could happen if Cobra was a thing. So they tried to make them like more realistic, but it just made it less exciting for me.
I always liked the somewhat real world implications of the original. Like there was a sequence where there was this town, and I can't remember what they called it. It wasn't Smallville, but it was something Springdale, something like that. And Cobra had taken it over and had like started their own city and like legitimately owned the town. And it was the implications of the citizens living in the town, like sort of in a terrorist state. So there's parts of that I really did. I didn't like it as complete escapism. I liked it as like war games. Like there was like a war games part that I really dug. I the issues where they were, remember when they had the base called the Pit, and the Pit got invaded with Zartan and his crew, and I dug the light. They were like trapped underground, and there was like this. Yeah, I dug the war games of it.
There was a real world implication to it, but it was still fantastical and creative and interesting. Whereas this was just like, okay, there's an organization called Cobra. It's just dudes in riot gear.
Yeah.
It's not awesome, Crimson Guard guys.
Yeah. So this issue, for those that don't know, looks like it's. I never finished. I know that the final few issues of G.I. Joe are still some of the more valuable ones, along with the first issue and the silent issue, because the print run was so low. And I don't necessarily know how it really ended. I've never read any of those. This feels like it's designed to be quite a while after.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I've not been a G.I. Joe aficionado over the years, so I don't know. If this is supposed to be a continuation from something, they did a very poor job of setting that up.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to start something new, but at the same time, I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, so for me, I liked the fact that they skipped over backstory. They don't give us the 1 page or the 2 page
history of
Joe and Cobra. They skip all of that, and they drop us right into a sequence and a situation. I appreciated that. At the same time, you're then left trying to pick up the pieces, and then it's on the writer and the artist to drop the right pieces at the right time to keep you interested in going. They don't always do that here. But I did like that situation, and I did like the familiarity of starting off with Duke the way they do, running through the square.
Yeah.
And then the end of that sequence, if we don't want to spoil it, I understand.
No, we're spoiling everything because I have some stuff to say about this book.
So on the 3rd page or whatever, we realize that we're in a police state, a Cobra police state at the end of a seemingly long war. And these Cobra soldiers capture Duke and execute him right there in the street. And I was left going, wait, is this legit Duke? Is this Duke? Did they just shoot Duke in the head in the 3rd page of this comic?
So here's the first thing I want to say about this book, which is interesting because of our conversation from last week, where we talked a lot about pacing of issues and how to end first issues, and how every first issue seems to end the same, and blah blah blah. And you said something about how, well, why can't you just do that in the middle of the book, which is what this did.
Yeah. Start us just right in the action, right in the middle.
But when that happened, I said, well, that should have been the end of the first issue, because they did not give you enough time. Like, if you had never read a G.I. Joe book before, that would have zero impact.
Sorry, TJ is cracking me up. That's very funny, TJ. Yeah, so I could see what you're saying. Ending with this moment on page 3 could have been powerful.
On
I
page 3.
disagree that it's bad the way they did it. I liked it because it made me stop. It made me go back and reread. It made me like lean forward. It made me interested in what went on next.
As a G.I. Joe fan.
Right.
Because you know who Duke is.
Right. And I'm saying they clearly didn't make this for like somebody who's never read G.I. Joe before.
But isn't that who you want to get to read your book?
That's a different problem. Now you're talking about marketing.
Yeah, but okay. Here's the thing. Let's take that out of the equation.
Okay.
This world that they set up, they give you enough to like get it, right? Like, oh, I get it. Cobra's in charge. This guy's a courier who like maybe doesn't really want to be doing, like he says, "Hail Cobra," like, but he's clearly being sarcastic because he's
Revolutionary.
Yeah, but he has to say it to avoid getting caught. Whatever. Wouldn't it have been a lot more interesting to like see a full issue of like the world and his struggles instead of him just being like, "Oh, this happened to me and this is why I'm mad."
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's saying like having at least a chunk of the beginning of the story set up and show a day in the life or whatever this police state is like. I get that.
And, I always pretty much, and, this might be my problem, but I always want books to slow down.
I want to get to Comics with Bueller's last comment there at some point. I just don't know that I'm ready to dive into it now because I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying there. I think it's possible that was our Duke. I don't think it's as simple as these are not the same Joes because I think some of them definitely are.
They even say, Major Blood says the thing about like, oh, you've got quite a resume of being a troublemaker, a thorn in our side, all this stuff. So he's still an important Joe, even if he's not the guy.
Right. So for those that are Joe fans and not necessarily following what we're saying, like we meet different Joes sort of sprinkled through the story. At the beginning, we have Duke and he gets killed and he had a flash drive on him, thumb drive. He drops it to hide it. This courier kid finds it. Duke gets killed. The kid decides he wants to check it out. So when he gets home after complaining about living in this horrible police state, puts it in the thumb drive, messes with it, and I don't know, somehow other Joes show up. Scarlet shows up. And I don't know if, again, I disagree. Bueller, maybe you've read something. I've read this issue a couple times now, and I don't see anywhere
where... Sorry for your loss.
What?
So I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
I've read it a couple times.
I don't see anywhere where they clearly say this isn't Duke, our Duke. I know that they do that for one of the other characters completely bamboozled on, but I can do that one later too. So the kid has the flash drive. Scarlet shows up. She takes the flash drive, and then now I'm totally forgetting what happens next.
The kid goes and
he tries to follow, right? No. He decides.
He shows up. He's like, "Oh, I know what your plan's going to be. I'm going to show up with this Molotov cocktail and throw it at the door,
right?
And then, ruin everything."
The new Joes or whatever, they're there. They're executing an operation.
Oh, you're jumping over so many points that I have huge problems with.
I just want to. We can go over the points, but I feel like to talk about the points without explaining what's happening is completely confusing.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
So the kid shows up when the Joes are doing their thing, and he throws a Molotov cocktail at the building where they're trying to do a secret covert operation. He totally mucks it all up. You're going to leave that up, aren't you? Just as long as you possibly can.
I'll tell someone else that's something that's more interesting.
The kid kind of mucks it up. There's a big fight, some Joes versus some Cobras, and then they decide after they they've ruined this operation, that they're going to take the kid with them. They knock him out. They go, and then the ending is just them all at a secret G.I. Joe base, deciding whether or not they want this kid to join them, and then what does this new Joe revolutionary infrastructure look like? That's kind of the whole book. That's it.
So
you want to go problem by problem?
Yeah, I mean, always. So yes, the beginning, I think the whole book could have been the first 5 pages just flushed out, and it would have been exceedingly more interesting to me.
Yeah, if your comment is, could this have been better, then yes.
I mean, that's my new shtick, right? Oh, hold on. I can replace your comment.
Nobody in the chat has read this except Bueller. What do you people all say that Alec is right? You've never read this book.
It's called track record, John. Okay.
Comment of the night.
Thank you. Nice.
If you want to tag Bueller in and throw him a link, it looks like Gray Matter Hulk is saying we should throw him a link. But
let me do that right now.
If Bueller wants to come on at some point, you're welcome in, bud. I don't think they ever specifically say, after John and Drew got on a chocolate cake. Yeah, dude, it was hilarious. Oh my God. You want round 2? Gray Matter Hulk wants round 2. It's hilarious. Bueller might be fully convinced that this is not Duke. And I will say there's a Flint-like character later on that they clearly say is not Flint. He just dresses exactly the same, wears all this clothes the same freaking way, but it's not Flint. This Duke isn't the prestigious Duke that we know. This Duke is a person without the resume of our Duke. Even though they say this Duke has a resume that's like our Duke, I don't know what's going on with you, dude. Bueller, you have unless you have an article that you've read somewhere. I don't know what leg you're standing on here right now, man.
I shot him a link, so if he jumps in, we'll maybe we'll
okay.
So
let's go. What's your next big gripe?
Okay.
What's the book? I mean, again, I'm not saying this book's amazing. I'm just saying I didn't find it a dumpster fire. I found that there was an idea here that I at least somewhat enjoyed.
Let me be clear. It is not a dumpster fire. Like, we've read much worse books on the show.
This is just
an outrageous disappointment that was like clearly. I hate to say this because I'm sure the creators worked really hard on it, but it felt like sloppily thrown together. Like, it was like, oh, we need to put a G.I. Joe #1 out here, quick, do something. Not like, I have a plan for 12 issues.
So what was the worst book? Oh man, I don't know. Well, it's probably Captain Marvel, right?
For me, it was Deceased. I was so offended by that book, and I know that like everyone else loves it, but it rubbed me such the wrong way.
I think Captain Marvel would probably be a worse book for me.
Captain Marvel was more disappointing because it should have been so good. Deceased was just like a question mark, and it was just a garbage dump for me. But Captain Marvel was just disappointing because like it's such a big property. Like, put better creators on it. I don't know.
Yeah. So okay, what was your next big issue with the book?
Okay, my next big issue is that this guy is only set up as a courier.
Yeah.
And again, if we had taken more time to set up the storyline and the backstory, maybe we could set up that maybe he has some more skills. This flash drive that Duke has with this super important information on is not like
password protected.
Anything. He just is able to stick it in his laptop and read everything. And
I thought about that moment.
And if he can get into it, they don't show us that. He's just, here, I'll show you. Oh, look what I'm looking at.
Oh, now TJ, listen to Alec. You don't want to listen to Alec. He says you should give Deceased a second chance. You don't want to listen to Alec. Now who's not listening to Alec?
Well, he didn't say that the first issue wasn't bad. He just said that it gets better.
It got better.
A lot of people say that, but I was.
Bueller's going Sergeant Slaughter on John. No, he's not here. He's probably like setting up his computer in a mad frantic. I got to get this light up. I got to get this thing going.
Yeah, Bueller's got like a professional setup, unlike me.
He's running around kicking cats out of the way.
So Scarlet shows up. He gives his little speech about how he lost everything, and I appreciated the casual way they set up the fact that he's gay, which I think is maybe the first gay G.I. Joe character.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a thrown out line because it's more about like sort of
But-
a V for Vendetta backstory of like, look what I've lost and look what I'm dealing with.
Right, but that was like the one nice thing that they did where it was like, oh, this is subtle, but it's still like telling me what I need instead of like just being totally, I don't know. It was like both rushed and nothing.
Which you could argue is bad writing with bad pacing, because clearly there were moments that were slowed way down that didn't need to be, and moments that were rushed where you would have liked a little more time.
Here's the Flint character.
Yeah, Flint,
Okay.
Hey, and I liked Flint as a character. I always liked Flint, and to find out that that's not Flint was kind of a bug. Like, why is this guy dressing it? So here,
Like, why? So this, go ahead.
my biggest frustration, and I think you're about to say it, was that they want to introduce a lot of new Joe characters that apparently look and dress exactly like old Joe characters.
Yeah, if you, like I said, the strength of G.I. Joe is the design and the creativity of the characters. If you're gonna create a new Joe, make him look awesome.
Geek aficionado, man, I love it. Flint would never have a beard like that. Yeah, I wanted like a mixture, a couple of Joes that had survived and were eking out a struggled existence, and new Joes, new blood, something else. But it seemed like they just decided to take both those ideas and screw them together in the wrong way. And that was frustrating. I was bothered, especially when I got to the end and I had the cool, which I always loved in the original comic. You'd open it up and they would have the page at the back with the dossiers. They had that, and I was like, wait, that's not Flint?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Because
they didn't explain that at all in the book. They just sort of threw it in the dossier section at the back.
Biggie Shack says it also looks like Shipwreck, which
I love that you guys. Hey, shout out to the chat. The name's Beachhead, Shipwreck. You guys know your Joes, so thank you very much. The new Flint is Flint, Michigan of Joes.
Pretty matter Hulk said it first. Credit where credit's due. Biggie Shack didn't say Beachhead.
I love it.
Okay.
Storm Shadow. Yeah.
So here's where things really go off the rails for me. Are we just naming Joes now?
I think so. Yeah, I started by complimenting them, and then they just took off.
I like how they like reference people like Dr. Mindbender without like bringing them in. That's unnecessarily, but that's another point. So this kid shows up, throws the thing, ruins everything. The Cobra Troopers, which just look like riot gear guys, like I said, come out, which is so disappointing because Cobra Troopers are awesome looking. And then Roadblock shoots the guy and says, "I just killed someone."
Yeah, that
Okay.
one I don't get.
I can explain it fully.
Oh, good. Thank you.
This is still G.I. Joe in this book is still in the infancy of G.I. Joe. So they set up towards the end that this is a response to the Cobra
invasion or whatever. Yeah.
So G.I. Joe is not something that has been there for years that Cobra is a response to. It's the other way around. Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh. Is he here?
Oh, Evil Bueller. Evil Bueller in the chat.
Okay, first I got to say this. Dude, I have never seen Bueller as salty as he was on Sam's show today. The guy's been brined. I don't know what is going on. This guy is a salty sea dog today. Everybody just watch out.
Evil Bueller is taking over.
I read this book.
Is that what made you so angry to be on Sam's show?
I wasn't angry to be on there. Let's have a little bit of fun. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, right?
Okay.
Sam didn't know what hit him. No.
He did not. He did not.
Poor Sam. He's one of your best friends.
But he rolled with the punches, so that's pretty good, right?
And now that's our job.
There you go.
Okay, so Roadblock in this version of G.I. Joe is a new recruit, and he hasn't been in the shit yet.
Right.
Here's my issue with that. That's fine. That's an interesting setup, and they could have told that a little better, maybe because clearly it was missed. But if this mission is as important as they said it is,
Right.
Why send this green Joe to be one of the 4 people who try to execute it? It doesn't make any sense.
And they all seem out of sorts across the board in the mission. If you really like it, like the person doing the computer hacking, the people on the watch out front, it all seems a little bit like nobody's ever done any of this before.
And furthermore, why send Duke, clearly you're one of your best decorated, most accomplished guys, to drop off a thumb drive? Send the green guy to do it.
He would have gotten like 3 blocks less. Don't you understand? The Duke had to make it to the trash can.
I guess so. So, okay. Here's my biggest, most offensive thing of this whole book. if you can believe it has not come yet. Well, first of all, going back to design, why just have like a normal, stupid looking tank? Like, it's just make a cool looking tank, man. Use your imagination. So they kidnap this guy and they say, "Oh, you've got the right stuff. Let's make you a Joe." Don't you think if Cobra in this version, they're not like bumbling idiots. They clearly have their stuff together. If Cobra is as put together and clever as they seem to be in this version of G.I. Joe, that maybe sending in a mole who will throw a Molotov cocktail that does not hurt any of your own guys might be a way to infiltrate the Joes. Like, they don't give this guy a background check. They don't do anything. They're just like, "Hey, you helped us sort of by actually ruining things. Let's give you a code name and give you a tank." So, and then the end of the book is, for some reason, the United States surrenders to Cobra, which also did not make any sense because we don't get a sense of how much, like,
what the war looks like elsewhere.
Right. We don't get a sense that Cobra is that much in charge. I don't know. So my rant is over.
I want to hear from Bueller, honestly. I want to let the dog off the leash a little bit here. He's looking and rereading the book. I love it. Look at
I just, okay. I raced home every day from school to watch this show every single day. I've seen this show thousands of times. I still have the video cassette of the movie when it came out from the very first day they released it at the store.
Movie's great.
And to read this thing, which is the very first book I read today, and I got it home, I go, I want to read this. It's number 1. It's garbage. How do you kill Duke in the first 2 pages of this thing? They just do it just for there you go. It's the it factor type thing. We just killed Duke. The reason I say it's not our Duke, because Duke doesn't get killed in the first 2 pages of anything. Of anything.
Hey, they killed him in the movie. Didn't they kill him in the movie?
No,
you can throw a snake through Duke's heart, and he will still live by the end of the movie. Okay? Which did happen, but he lived. All right?
I mean, he's in pretty bad shape for a while, but he makes it through because he's Duke. This
book I read as not our G.I. Joe. This is nowhere near what our G.I. Joe was. This is this is Star Wars. This is what this is. This is the Rebel Alliance going up.
Yeah, it felt like it did not have a feeling of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, this is what's the bad guys in Star Wars? I've drawn a blank. I'm just
Darth Vader.
Yeah, what side is he on?
Empire.
The Empire.
The Empire. Yeah. So this is what this is. Empire is Cobra. That's what this book is. And G.I. Joe, if you want to call it that, is that the Rebel Alliance trying to, get it back or whatnot. Because this is how this reads. Everything is been taken over by Cobra. I mean, just the citizens are going like Hail Cobra type thing. And there's Cobra symbols on the buildings, just like the bad guys. I already forgot what they're called. Empire. Okay. So you read this, and there's so many things in here that they just pop in here just for the hell of it. Okay. Like my boyfriend type thing. that line right there when he talks about his boyfriend, that's literally in there just to get a shock value. I don't care if it's his boyfriend or a girlfriend. I don't care, but it's literally in the book to get the shock value. Like you said, I think you referred to as possibly the first openly gay character or whatnot for G.I. Joe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's really the only reason it's in there. And then you get to the end.
And by the way, I'm just going to say Shipwreck, probably.
Shipwreck, yes. Shipwreck / Flint, okay, wannabe. The ship. I'm like, oh, that's Shipwreck. And I'm like, no, that's Flint. And then by the end, and I look at see this little fake card that they have in the back of the two new characters, because they just copied the cards that were on the back of the toys right there. All right, that's what those are. You got Tiger, give me a break, Tiger. And then you got Frontier, which is the combination of Flint and Shipwreck. Man, I was pissed. I was pissed. And then they give up. They literally, but then this should be a one-shot. The downfall of G.I. Joe before it even starts. Okay, that's what this is. By the end of the episode, at the beginning, Duke is shot in the head and killed, and at the end, they give up. That's what happened in this book. In case anyone's wondering, that's what this book is.
Does it bother you just the fact that Cobra won? Like, because I like the idea of a comic book where Cobra wins and G.I. Joe has to come from behind victory.
Yeah,
no,
but
I like that premise. Don't get me wrong. I kind of, when I first start reading, I go, okay, I'm kind of getting it. You know, I kind of see what they're doing. It's like a come from behind, but this actually makes it seem like there's almost very little G.I. Joe type thing to where it's just kind of in its infancy, and they're kind of put the team together now because the government is not going to be behind them. G.I. Joe was a combination of all the forces coming together from all over the world, and then they formed, and they were part of the government, but they were their own entity. And this is kind of what I see in here as well at the very end of this book, okay, because the government has conceded, okay, they've relinquished power to Cobra Commander or whatever. We don't even see any of those characters in this besides like Major Blood. And then, but I think this is the very beginning of possibly a G.I. Joe with fake G.I. Joe members. And another thing, when Roadblock kills someone, okay, that's a direct dig at the cartoons and how everyone never got hit by the laser beam. I know what they were doing right there. They were doing that just to piss people off. That's exactly what they did.
So can I, since my new shtick is telling my suggestions of how could this be better, instead of the government surrendering at the end, do you think it would have been better if Cobra was not as all powerful at the beginning as they seem, but they actually have infiltrated all branches of government and they execute a plan at all at the same time, where they assassinate a bunch of high level people and do like a coup?
I think you'd have the same response that people had to Lois Lane, which is that they feel like we're making Trump seem like Cobra Commander, and that they'd say this is some left-wing social justice warrior crap. You're trying to make the government seem like Cobra. The government is bad, and the G.I. Joes are the ones that are going to come to the rescue with this evil government. I think that you'd have a lot of people, that G.I. Joe fans, that are like hardcore, like
So instead of telling a better story,
right,
you would be more worried about maybe a backlash from a political side.
I would be surprised if not a significant portion of G.I. Joe fans aren't conservatives. And I think that to piss off that core group is a foolish call. But I do like the premise of what you're saying. I have no problem story-wise. That sounds great. I just think
marketing. Okay, that's all I wanted.
From a marketing standpoint, I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. I know for a fact people on the internet would freak.
Yeah, well,
President is Cobra Commander? Are you kidding me?
But going back to what we were saying at the beginning, if we're talking about, so this does not cater to original G.I. Joe fans, clearly, as we see. It also does not do anything for new fans because, as we said, the impact of Duke dying to a new fan means nothing. So they've already failed at the book before.
So why not just rip that Band-Aid off is what you're saying?
Yeah, just tell a better story.
So I will say I'm a G.I. Joe fan. Like I said at the beginning, I did not hate this book. I didn't love it. I'm not going to get another issue of it.
No, most certainly not.
But I didn't hate it. I certainly don't feel as passionate as these two guys do. I feel like there's an idea there that has some promise. I think the character design thing that Alec is talking about makes no sense. I don't know why they need all the guys to look exactly like other characters that we've had in the past. I don't know what the point is behind that.
So what I'm saying makes sense. What they did in the book doesn't make sense.
I agree with what you're saying. Yes.
Okay. Good.
I want to real quick.
Make sense.
You see the title? You notice how it just says G.I. Joe?
It's not a real American hero.
There's no real American hero. This is a real American letdown. That's what this is. This book. They don't even put the little dots in between the G and the I. They didn't even take the time.
It says good Joe.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, you're upset. I've never seen you so passionate about something.
Yeah.
You should go back and read some of the other relaunches of G.I. Joe because there's some pretty bad ones in there. I'm just going to say.
I have them. I got a whole box. I'm looking at it right now. I got all the Image ones. I got all the ID. It wasn't IDW. Well, yeah, I have some IDW ones, but there was another company that had
another company, and I don't remember what it was in the middle there.
So this is actually something I want to. This is a perfect segue. If we're done, dump it on this dump. IDW.
Pass for me.
Yeah, hard pass. in case you were wondering. IDW as a company, I don't understand them because they get these great properties like G.I. Joe, and then they just don't put any effort into them. They just say like, okay, we have this, so people are going to buy it. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I think there's some truth behind that. I think that when you look at some of the stuff that they have on their resume, like G.I. Joe or Transformers, and I think the Turtles, don't they have Turtles as well?
Yeah.
I think those aren't bad. I think that's probably their standout title that's on their resume.
Yeah, isn't Kevin Eastman still working on Turtles?
Yeah.
So that's a little different.
Titles.
They need to bring Larry Hama back.
Yeah.
They should. He's still working, right?
And then they have all the Marvel crossovers for the kids line. They do all those and stuff, which don't really interest me. But I think you're right. I think if you got these, especially G.I. Joe, sorry, but it's such an iconic thing. I mean, it's right up there with. To me, it's right up there with Star Wars as far as what my childhood was G.I. Joe and Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Those are the figures I had, and that's where the shows I watch. I watched the G.I. Joe shows every day, and I went and watched all the Star Wars movies every day type thing.
So I mean, I guess more to my point is that it's they're basically, to me, what it feels like is that they're saying we have this, that's good enough. Not we have this, let's make something people are going to talk about and want to buy the book.
Well, yeah, so they're putting money into marketing and names of the products, but not into the writers and the artists.
Right. And maybe they had to make a choice and they said, hey, we can either choose to buy a property or we can choose to put good creators on a book. And so let's just buy a property because that's easier. And I don't know. I'm making a lot of assumptions and a lot of leaps, but hey, proof's in the pudding.
Well, I definitely didn't like the artwork on here. I thought the artwork was it was just so and like I said in the comments, like the 80s cartoon, the artwork style in there is better.
Yeah, the artwork was serviceable.
Comic book.
It was serviceable, but it was unexciting.
Not for a G.I. Joe title. I mean, for a G.I. Joe title.
It didn't fit a G.I. Joe title, but neither did the tone of the book. So, what the hell?
What the hell? That should be the title of this one. What the hell?
So I don't think I'll be getting any calls from IDW anytime soon, but
check out our new book. Can you do a review?
Yeah. After I just dumped on them.
I mean, I'm interested to know I have questions that I think it would have been nice to have included somewhere in here, and I think character design is a big part of it for me on this one. I mean, I would have liked to know, is this a story that's setting up G.I. Joe? Like, this is G.I. Joe from its inception, and we're looking at, like, these are the characters eventually who will become X, Y, and Z down the line? Or is this supposed to be after all the Joes that we know, and now these guys are just, like, copying and playing dress up cosplay Joes? Like, I'm curious how this fits into the storyline, and I wish that had been included here somehow.
Old Wolf asks, is this book a pass? I think even John, who's more on the fence about it,
yeah, I mean, I like it more than these guys. I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10.
But if you knew that before buying it, would you have bought it?
I don't know how that's like Inception there. I don't know how I even cracked that egg. That's crazy.
Like,
is the chicken or the egg in the head? I don't know.
If you read a review of this Tuesday night and they said it's a 6.5 out of 10,
no, I wouldn't have bought it. And if we weren't doing it as the show, no, I wouldn't have bought it.
Should have did Spider-Man #1. That was good.
Really goddamn Spider-Man #1s these days. I can't handle all the Spider-Man #1s.
It's different.
Spider-Man #1 like 2 weeks ago.
It's different.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about something today.
Did Perry pick this book? Because this seems like something Perry would have picked out.
No, we picked it together. I'm just teasing.
Well, don't point at me.
Yeah, I know. I was just teasing you.
It's that guy right there.
I wanted a nostalgia book. I wanted to bust out my old G.I. Joe books. I wanted to talk about G.I. Joe for an hour.
I wasn't against it, but you're the one who suggested it. Come on, man.
Yeah, we had 2 books to pick between, and I was like, let's do G.I. Joe. And then we couldn't find a guest who wanted to talk about G.I. Joe.
Chat RCG with a solid joke.
Is that a PGX season or a PGX? The CGC season? Which one are we looking at? Where's the CGC?
Your rating of a 6.5.
Oh, yeah. It's probably a PGX 6.5.
Just so you know, that the lead guy, the Frontier guy that's in here, who I guess is like the leader, he was a school teacher. Sorry, John.
A substitute
School teacher. And
not that there's anything wrong with substitute school teachers. Maybe he spent the rest of his time doing military training, but
is that why he gave it 6.5, John? Because he's a school teacher?
School teachers are badass. What are you talking about? Kill a guy with a pencil like Jason Bourne.
We're going to get you a little fedora to see if you look like this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just would have liked some understanding of how this all pieces together, and but the concept I think has some merit if it's centered around the Joes losing the big game right off the bat and having to then come back from that. The last few Joes who are left, and they're recruiting anybody they can get their hands on. It's like they're down to their last whatevers. They have none of the resources. I could really enjoy that comic. The problem is that's not what this is, and there's too many holes impeding that story.
I'm just going to straight rip off Battlestar Galactica here and say, tying it into my first idea, where why couldn't it have been that G.I. Joe was established, Cobra has some massive attack where they maybe get a nuke or whatever and blow up G.I. Joe's base, and so G.I. Joe has to work from the ground up. They're on the run, and they have to do, boots on the ground up, rather than Cobra's a thing, so this is a response.
Right.
I'd rather read the silent issue behind you.
I mean, that's a great issue. That's not
iconic.
Yeah.
I need to get a better copy. Mine's pretty dinged up.
Yeah.
It's been read a bunch.
Unbelievable.
You talk about me? I am unbelievable. I will say.
Not for me. I mean, clearly for Bueller, it's a dumpster fire. For me, it's right on that cusp because it was just.
Yeah,
so many missed opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that it's just a lot of ineptitude, laziness, whatever on the writing side.
Great word.
It could have been something great. And I like the general premise, and it just wasn't good enough to make me say, all right, I'll give you one more issue. It's just not going to happen.
No. Oh, what I was saying before is something I was thinking about today is, do you think a series like a Marvel or DC series will ever reach issue 100 again?
That's an amazing question. That is awesome.
Well, I think DC will. But
With what?
I don't know. Don't they have some issues up in the 80s and stuff like that?
Biggie Shack's just naming pop culture teachers. I freaking love it. I will say this. You will definitely hit, they'll have a few that hit 100. It's because what they'll do is go back and say, hey, remember those 12 issues of Iron Man over here and those 30 issues of Iron Man over here and those 25? Hey, it adds up to 100. We're going to call this the 100th issue.
Okay. Yeah, probably. But I mean, like, will something start at 1? Could you get a 1 through 100 run or something that's published?
I think even something that's as successful as Immortal Hulk, you know, the writer's going to leave. Somebody else is going to come in at some point. It's going to shit the bed. And then all of a sudden you're going to have to close it down and start it up again somewhere else at number 1. Because number 1s are so profitable and number 2s aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, it just dawned on me today. I was like, geez, that's a weird thought.
Yeah, it sucks. And yeah, Venom could, but you'd have to have somebody like Donny Cates committed to running it for a significant period of time. And the truth is he's going to move on. And then someone else is going to take over. They'll drive it into the ground and then they'll start back at 1 again. Or when it ends, they'll stop it and they'll start at 1 again.
This is an unpopular opinion probably, but I think Donny Cates is going to burn out.
Oh, at the amount of writing he's doing? Hell yeah. I think it happened for me with Guardians. I don't enjoy Guardians anymore. I didn't think it was very good. It's now Silver Surfer Black. That might end up being his masterpiece. He's got one more issue in there, and if it's as good as the other 4, that might be peak Cates.
Sure, but people criticize Tom King for only being able to write 12-issue series. Like if Donny Cates' best things are God Country and Silver Surfer Black, which are only 5 issues long, 6 issues long.
Or Thanos Wins, that 6-issue storyline. I still think Thanos Wins is my personal favorite right now.
I mean, that's fine. Like if that's what you're great at, then own it and do great writing that way. But I don't think it's going to make you an all-time person if you can't write a run for 50 issues.
A long-term run, yeah.
The Flash, it'll hit 100.
You think so?
Calling it right now.
Isn't DC doing another reboot though?
Probably. That's if I was going to put my money on something, it'd be that one. Because Joshua Williamson's been on that from day 1.
Yeah, but they renumbered it a couple times.
No,
because
not since Rebirth.
Yeah, it was part of the Rebirth, and they just kind of kept going and dropped the Rebirth title. But he's been on there since day 1, and they're on, I think, issue 80 or something like that. So, and it's
Wonder Woman's in the 70s, 60s, 70s, somewhere around there too. But I thought I heard something about another DC reboot.
He really likes the Flash. That's his favorite character.
Yeah,
and he wants to stay on it for as long as he can. So. I really liked the last time I was on here better.
That's a great comment, Old Wolf. You liked the book last time better?
Yeah, well, just the last time I was on here was a lot better.
Well, I hope you're still enjoying the company. Jeez.
I'll tell you, what I like again about our show is that if it's a crappy book or a good book, it can be a great fun to talk about it either way.
Are we on? Is this John's channel or yours, Alex?
It's my channel.
Okay, I didn't know for sure because last time I was on John's channel, I didn't enjoy myself either. Had to watch a crappy movie and talk about all these people dying. Remember that, John? That was just recently.
It was just one bad movie. The other 2 were great. Actually, 3 because we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark too.
Got me all worked up.
Talk about the 80s again. You're super salty, man.
Oh, before Bueller has an aneurysm, maybe we should wrap this dog and pony show up.
We're in Thunderdome, says Ruben Yevis.
You fine gentlemen, have anything you'd like to plug before we head out?
Bueller was on Sam's show today. You guys should all watch it because it was very, very funny. I think Sam's new key word is not what, it's okay. Because if you watch that, he says okay every couple 5 seconds. Okay. Okay. He was just trying to figure out how to manage Bueller, and the first like minute of silence is hilarious.
I literally get like a text from Ryan texts me. He's like, dude, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And like a half hour later, Tom calls me and he's like, man, that was hilarious and stuff. It was, if you got about, I don't know, 35 minutes, watch it from beginning to end, because I really kind of put Sam through the ringer, but he did great. And I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're always
I can watch it. Sounds amazing.
The microphone goes out for like a couple minutes.
That was a brutal, like noisy bit. Yeah,
buzzing for a couple minutes, but we fixed it and it's working after that.
Brett Hessart says, I missed it all. Did we like the new Joe? You could say no conservatively. What do you got going on, John?
Let's see. Tomorrow night I'm not on, but on Friday I'll be on the Boy Who Had Sevens channel. We're doing another Comic-Gories game show on Friday. And then Saturday night, I'm hoping to do our giveaway and pick the winners for our contest on our channel. So we'll be doing that this weekend. And that's about it. Saturday morning comics with the girls, because then we got soccer in the afternoon.
Nice. I've got apparently everything going on for the rest of my life. Tomorrow I have a night off. Friday, Chad asked me to host Off the Rails.
Oh,
so that's going to be Offer the Rails. That's not a word. Saturday, I think this Saturday I'm on with Robert Galvin.
Okay. The witching hour.
Yeah. I can't remember if that's this week or next week, but I'll double check that. Sunday night, I'm finally on Slab Down against a mystery opponent, so that's intimidating. And then Monday, I'll be out of town, so I won't be on a regular show.
Will I see you on Monday morning? We have coffee together?
Probably, yes.
Hey.
If anything, I'll watch you in the airport.
All right.
You know me. I'll never miss that show.
Okay.
But that's about it, I think. And then next week, we're back on John's channel with JP's Budget Collecting. And we're going to be reviewing Harleen #1 Black Label book.
And talking about the Black Label and why it's all over the map.
DC doesn't know what they're doing with it. They show one dick and everything, and it's a monkey wrench in the whole contraption.
Maybe Rob Liefeld was right. Think about it.
Hashtag where's Rob?
You like that, don't you?
Okay. Thanks everyone for joining, and hope to see you next week. Am I forgetting anything?
Never turning back on the ocean.
Right. We'll see you guys soon. Never turning back to the ocean. This is Sky Tigers, in case you don't know. I haven't played them in a minute. See you soon. Bye. Obey Cobra.